Hi, so today I want to talk about the 3 pairs of shoes I used at Disney World, where we walked an average of 8 miles a day. And let's start with the very first one, which is Kizik. So the first one are my Kiziks, and I've had these shoes for months, maybe 5 months. There was no breaking period. Never had a problem, never had blisters. And it's really true. That commercial, no hands, even with the lace, just wow, slip it in, you're good. And actually it was really convenient even at the airport. Now, if you're the type of person who don't mind wearing sportswear to the airport, I highly recommend this, because when you're in a hurry, when you have to get checked to remove your shoes and then you have to put it on quickly because there's 100 people behind you, or you're in a hurry to catch your flight, this was really convenient. So this was really good, no problem. Now, the only downside was we were in Florida, so at one point it did rain when I was wearing this. It was about 8:40 in the evening, so it was towards the end when the park was about to close, and so it was fine. The only thing is it's not waterproof, and so our feet got wet, and on top of that I had to let it air dry. And in fact, what happened was I actually hand washed this at the hotel. I have been looking online if this is machine washable. The box doesn't say anything. I still have it. I flipped it all around and I didn't find anything. Online I found that some people say don't put it in a washing machine because it might distort this, which has a patent, because it's really amazing. I wouldn't want to change or risk changing the shape, because that's part of its charm and what makes it so unique, that feature. So I've only had to hand wash this, and it's dirty again because I've used it after that. But yes, Kiziks, awesome. Just know that it's not waterproof, and if it does get wet, your feet are going to get wet and it's going to take time to dry it. On the plus side, the insole is removable, which is always great. So if you're like me, who would rather not wear socks if I don't have to, I had no problem with this. I can just wash this if I feel like, oh, gross, My husband always wears socks with his Kiziks and never had a problem. Next day, I opted for my Toms. And let me tell you, I kind of have a love-hate relationship with Toms, because the first time it came out, I loved my Toms. At that point, the insoles weren't removable yet. Now it is. And I wore it to death. At first it was really snug, and then they said, oh, eventually it'll loosen up and adjust to your feet, which was true. And I wore it so much that there was no traction in the sole anymore, because I've used it so much, and I had a really bold print, my very first pair, and I washed it so much in the washing machine that it had faded. So this time when the Mallows came out, which is a little thicker sole, and with the insoles being removable, I tried it again, and sure, at first it was a little snug. Now, I wore this on the second day at Disney World, again walking for average of 8 miles. And what's great is because this gore is a little wider than the normal or the first Toms, it conformed to my feet a little better. It was a lot more comfortable. I did not have blisters. I probably wore this once or twice before taking it to the park. What's strange though is it was comfortable all day until 9-10 hours later, when we're back at the hotel and I removed my shoes. The balls of my feet were tender, and I don't know why. I don't know if it's because of the material of the top of the insole, or it was so snug my feet weren't really moving as much, because as far as my feet are concerned, like the width and everything, I didn't feel any pain, or I didn't get blisters, I didn't get calluses, nothing. But it was very odd how the balls of my feet were just tender, and I didn't understand it. So I had to kind of let my feet rest for a bit before I took a shower, because I just didn't want to be back on my feet. I don't know if it's because I'm already tired from the previous day, or again, maybe I didn't break it in enough. I don't know, but that was my experience. While we were at Disney World, I came across a pair of shoes I wasn't really familiar with this. It's native, and the material reminded me of Crocs. In fact, when I was looking at it, a British lady was passing by and said, "Oh, this looks like Crocs." And I don't own a pair of Crocs, and okay, don't hate me, I have nurse friends, teacher friends, hairdressers, PT that love Crocs. They have even convinced their mothers to buy them. They wear them all the time, with socks, without socks. It reminded me of it, but when I looked it up, apparently the materials aren't actually the same. And so I saw this at the park, and because the style reminds me of a laceless pair of Chucks, I said, oh, why not? And I like Minnie Mouse, so okay. And what I like is the insoles that's built in. There are all these like little dots that feel like it could massage my feet. I don't know, I just had that weird feeling. And because the material looks like it's waterproof, I said, this might be good for the park, because if it does rain, yes, your feet will still get wet because of all the holes, but it'll probably dry really fast, number one. And number two, because of all the holes, even though it feels like a rubber or a plastic, however you want to describe this material, I don't feel like my feet would sweat so much. So I wore them on my third day after my feet were really tender from Tom's on the second day, right? And it worked. Those little dots felt like they were massaging my tender soles. And because of all the holes, it felt like my feet were ventilated enough that I didn't have sweaty feet at all. So I would recommend this. It didn't rain that day, so I don't know how fast these dry, but I can only imagine that if it got wet, it would take a lot shorter time to dry it, air dry it, compared to my Kiziks. So if you don't mind having something like this, then I would recommend this. And at the park, this is about $60. Online, if you don't need the Disney design, there are ones that are a lot more affordable if you're just going for the comfort and the versatility. And just real quick with the sizing, which I forgot, with Kiziks I went with my normal size, no problem. Oops. And then with my Toms, I actually went a half size lower because I did get the canvas. I've had experience with Toms where if the material doesn't seem to give, like it feels like satin or the burlap, I don't know, just like the woven fabric, I don't know what you call them. If it feels like it will never stretch, those I get my actual size. And then with these ones, I actually went a size, half size down, because these don't come in half sizes, so I went a half size down. So there you have it. If you are going to an amusement park for the first time, or you're just going to be walking for hours and hours, be on your feet, and it's your first time, you're not used to it, these are the shoes I would recommend. I survived 3 consecutive days of walking around 8 miles a day in the heat. And yes, I was distracted by everything else that is surrounding me and all the rides that I was looking forward to. However, I didn't really have trouble with them after. And even though my soles, kind of the balls of my feet, got very tender on the second day, by third day with this one, it was still there, but like I said, I feel like this insole helped. And then after that, maybe another day or so, I was fine. I was back to normal, and I still didn't get any blisters or anything like that. So I hope this video helped. If you are going to Disney World or any amusement park, have fun.